Answer this question for me, if you would please. What is it about people with Asperger syndrome, with autism, that we feel like that we need to be helpers? We need to please other people constantly. It's like we're obsessed with it. Now, I know there are some people with autism that doesn't describe them at all. But there seems to be, at least in my observation, a disproportionate number of people with Asperger syndrome who just have this compulsion to help other people. Why is that? Do you have any idea? Well, I've got this hypothesis, I got a theory. And what I think is that sometimes we have a mindset where we need help because we have mind blindness, because we're socially inept. We don't know how to fit in, and we really need some help. You know, we're kind of dependent on other people helping us out and being kind to us because we don't know how to do it. And because of that, because we feel the hurt, we assume other people feel the hurt, and we try to help them. So in a weird kind of way, we are trying to help ourselves by helping other people. And I think that may be the reason. Disagree with me if you want, because, you know, I'm not perfect. I don't get everything right. But I think one of the reasons that we're always pleasing people is because we know how it feels to need help. So we're helpers, and we assume everyone else needs help too. So there we are. We're helping others, but it's not reciprocated. They're not necessarily, sometimes it is, but they're not necessarily helping us back. We need some help a little bit along the way when we are trying to socialize, and finally, you know, so many of us, we just give up. We just become avoidant. We don't do anything. So what we're talking about here is why it is that people with Asperger syndrome, with high-functioning autism, are dependent on other people, more so often than we should be. And one of the reasons is, you know, we want to please others because we know how it feels to have needs, to have emotional needs, to have social needs. We understand that. And so many times, you know, we just kind of overdo it, and we don't realize we're overdoing it. We're just trying to be kind. We're trying to be nice. We're trying to be helpful. What we're actually doing, and by the way, those things are good, right? To be helpful, to, you know, see other people have problems, help them out. But when you overdo it, that's when it becomes a problem, and we become dependent on that need. We're dependent on that need to help other people. We can't do that. Yeah, again, it's good to help other people, but, you know, that can't be our entire life. Sometimes we actually have to help ourselves, and sometimes we can't help ourselves, and other people can't help us, so we just don't get help. But we don't have to be dependent on that. The second thing we have here is sometimes we expect others to be empathetic to our empathies. Now, that's going to need a little bit of explaining. So people with Asperger syndrome tend to have effective empathy. And again, there are a lot of exceptions. Some people I know with Asperger syndrome are just flat out obnoxious. That's a way that they try to deal with what they sense as being their inadequacies, their deficits. But I think most of us, we try to be empathetic. Kind of talked about that in the first point, but we are empathetic. And because we are empathetic, we expect other people to empathize with our empathies. So, illustration, yeah, here's a guy who has some kind of a need. I don't know what it is, but whatever it happens to be, I don't know, let's say maybe he has an addiction, right? So we feel sorry for the guy and we are empathetic for his needs. Or maybe the guy has some financial problems. So we are empathetic to his needs. And we expect people to understand our empathy, to be empathetic to our empathy. So if I feel sorry for this guy, you should understand why I feel sorry for this guy, for whatever reason. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of people, effective empathy just not part of their thinking process. Or if it is, it's very minimal. Or just, you know, it's not a significant part of it. So sometimes we are dependent on others to empathize with our empathies. And the way to get around that, the solution, I should say, is to understand just to be cognitive of the fact that not everyone is going to understand why we care about people. They just don't get it. They don't care about other people the same way we do. I mean, maybe they do to some degree, but they don't care about others the same way we do, and we shouldn't expect them to understand why we are so empathetic, because it's the real world, you know? People just don't do that. And if we expect people to do something they're not going to do, we're going to be disappointed. Number 3 is sometimes we're just unable to accept others' flaws, other people's shortcomings. Sometimes it's just very difficult for us to grasp the fact that other people are not perfect. I like to use the illustration, and I've used this analogy before, but I love to use the illustration, the analogy of the old Westerns. You know, the black and white Westerns, movies, TV shows they made back in the 40s, 50s. You could always tell the good guy. I mean, almost instantly, you'd recognize the good guy. I remember there was a TV show on that I loved as a kid. It was called The Rebel. Remember that? And Johnny Yuma, I think was the guy's name. And if I remember correctly, he wore a white hat. My understanding, this goes back a long time, but he was a Confederate soldier, and after the war, he just kind of wandered around doing good things and helping out good people. There's always a villain who wore a black hat. So you would see that all the good guys wore white hats and the bad guys wore black hats, and there weren't that many of the bad guys. So that is the way that we would, or as a kid, the way that I would view, that was my worldview. You know, everyone wears a white hat except, you know, these bad guys. There's a few of them, but, you know, so I just assumed that these people didn't have flaws because they had some, but they were, you know, basically good guys. And interestingly, a few months ago, I was watching an episode of The Rebel on YouTube. And now it's kind of dumb. I was thinking, geez, I mean, that's not very good TV in my opinion, but, you know, I was a kid, so I saw things that I guess I can't see now. I must be blind to them. But, you know, we need to understand that not everybody wears a white hat. And when we have that, let's call it the TV Western mentality, or the TV Western syndrome, where we think everybody is flawless and everybody should be good guys and everybody should be nice and polite, and that's not reality. And you go to work, you know, and you're just assuming that everyone's a good guy. And they're not. You know, they're not bad guys. They're not good guys. It's not white hats and black hats. It's gray hats. People have dark gray hats. Some people have light gray hats, and everybody's on the spectrum somewhere. The hat color spectrum, and but none of them are perfectly good, and none of them are perfectly bad. But we expect them to be good, so we're disappointed. And they sense that weirdness about us. Yeah, weirdness. What is up with this person? He thinks everyone's a good guy. And I don't think they think that consciously, but that is the impression that we're getting across. And there's something about that is repelling. You know, that we have a distorted view of reality, and they pick up on that. You know, it's subconscious, I think, but still they pick up on it. And because of that, they kind of reject us. And that just compounds it even more because the good guys are rejecting us. That doesn't make sense. Well, the problem is we are dependent on our expectations. We are expecting people to be better than they truly are. I'm nearly 70 years old, and I still haven't gotten over it. I am still constantly, day by day, disappointed in people because I just assume they're good guys. And when they're not, you know, it's really depressing, but that's life. So eventually, someday, I'll learn. Hopefully, before I'm 80, maybe 90 years old, I'll catch on. Number 5 is this, what I call constant agreement. The thing is that people don't agree with other people. They just don't. I mean, there are 8 billion people on the planet. And if you were to randomly select any 2 people anywhere on the planet alive today, those 2 people are not going to see eye to eye on everything all the time. What that means is I disagree with everybody, and so do you. We all disagree with everybody. Everybody disagrees with everybody. And if we don't get that, expecting people, you know, to agree with me or I'm going to get mad at you, there's a problem. Now, I got to tell you, this is not just a problem with Aspie's. It seems to be more pronounced among people with autism, but it's not exclusively an autistic problem. You know, over the centuries, people have fought wars. People have died by the thousands, maybe by the millions, because they disagreed. They disagreed over religion. You know, whatever the religion happens to be, you know, whatever. I'm not going to talk about religion, but one group believes the Easter Bunny is pink, and the other group believes the Easter Bunny is blue. Well, those heretics, how dare you say the Easter Bunny is blue? Everyone knows the Easter Bunny is pink, and if you don't change your mind, we're going to go to war over this. We can't have these blue bunnies, blue bunnyists invading our turf. We can't tolerate them. You know, they're heretics. And the blue bunny people are saying the same thing about the pink bunny people. You know, they're all wrong, but, you know, the point of the matter is, why is it that we tend to hate people that disagree with us? I don't know. But people, you know, say, well, maybe you're not religious. All right, have you ever fought over a ball game? Like, it's really important that your game, your team was right and the other team was wrong. You ever been watching a ball game and basketball game and the referee calls a foul? And half of the crowd cheers and the other half of the crowd boos. So you can tell who the foul was called against by the reaction of the fans. You know, the fans who are for the player, he's part of their team, they're going to boo. I mean, obviously the referee needs glasses. He wasn't paying attention. But the other side says, yeah, good call. You know, that is silly. But that's the way we think. And people with Asperger syndrome, people with autism, when we think that people have to be in constant agreement with us, they have to see it our way all the time, that's not necessarily an Aspie thing, an Aspie trait. But it seems to be, again, more pronounced. So we just need to face reality. By the way, one of the reasons I do these videos, I try to be an encouragement to people. I try to lift people up. I try to say something that is positive and encouraging. And one of the things I'm saying now that hopefully is encouraging to you is you don't have to have everyone agree with you all the time. But the problem, I think, is, and I've experienced this in my life, is I am so dependent on people agreeing with me. Okay, don't agree with me. I don't care. You're entitled to your own opinion, and I'm going to go on my way. And if I'm right and you're wrong, so be it. But 8 billion people, I'm not going to waste my time trying to convince all of them that I'm right and they're wrong. Just not going to do it. Number 6 is this, what I would call just a lack of self-respect. So people with autism, people with Asperger syndrome, high-functioning autism, sometimes we get this frame of mind that people are not respecting us. And there's a reason for that. It's because people don't respect us. People don't respect each other. And if you have some kind of what is perceived by them as a flaw, I don't think autism is a flaw. I think it's a trait. But they see it. They interpret it as a flaw, as a shortcoming, and they don't have it. Therefore, they're better than you from their perspective. And so they treat you like you're weird. And to them, you are weird, you know. But here's what we need to take away from this, I think, is sometimes often people, will treat us like we are flawed, and we believe them. And so, are you paying attention? This is really, really important. So we begin treating ourselves as if we are flawed. So let me ask you this. If you can't treat yourself with respect, or think of yourself with respect, why would you expect anyone else to? So we are dependent on others to respect us, which is not going to happen, at least not totally. But we don't even respect ourselves. That creates a problem. 2 rectangles on the screen. Hey, let's keep talking if you want. We got dozens of videos. I mean, hundreds, I think. So we can keep the conversation going, keep hanging out together, but all you got to do is click on one of those 2 rectangles. But if not, thanks for stopping by, and we will see you all next time.